Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive is going to be super interesting, I think. We're taking a look at Alexis Ohanian.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the co-founder of Reddit. So, big tech guy. But
Cute.
also, really interesting guy. We're pulling from an interview he did with Jay Shetty.
Right.
Where they talked about all kinds of things, from the really early days of Reddit all the way to his thoughts on AI and like the future of work.
Yeah, it was a really wide-ranging conversation.
It really was. And then also some surprisingly insightful parenting stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Like I was really struck by some of the things he had to say about raising kids in the digital age.
Well, he's someone who's been at the forefront of the internet revolution for, over 2 decades now. So he's seen firsthand how technology shapes our lives. And I think he's got a really good perspective on, you know, where we're headed.
Yeah, and one thing that really stood out to me was how surprised he was by the dedication of those early Reddit moderators.
Right.
Like, these are people who are pouring countless hours into managing communities, all for free.
For free, yeah.
Like, what do you make of that?
I think it really speaks to, like, a fundamental human need for purpose and belonging, right? It's really fascinating how the internet has created these new avenues for people to, contribute their time and energy to something that they believe in. This was back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
When this whole concept of online community
Wasn't really a thing.
wasn't as mainstream as it is today, yeah.
Right.
So, Ohanian was really witnessing, like, the birth of something
Yeah.
new and powerful.
Absolutely. And he talked about how early on people were already intensely invested in like their online personas.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something that wasn't widely understood back then.
Not at all. Yeah, he noticed how much effort people were putting into crafting their digital selves, forging these connections, building communities online. It was a sign of things to come, really. I mean, today, the lines between our online and offline selves are increasingly blurred.
Totally.
Right. We curate our digital identities. We manage online relationships. We even build entire careers in the digital space. It's all become so integral to who we are.
It really has.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, what does this all mean for the future of like community and connection in general?
Right.
Ohanian even brought up the potential for like both the healthy and the kind of dystopian versions of online communities.
Oh.
He was even expressing concern about a generation of young people who are potentially missing out on those real-world social skills.
Yeah.
Because they're so engrossed in the online world.
That's the big question, isn't it? Like, how do we navigate this digital landscape in a way that fosters genuine connection without losing sight of the importance of that, face-to-face interaction, especially for those of us who are raising kids in this digital age.
Right.
It's a constant balancing act.
It really is.
Yes.
And speaking of parenting, I thought Ohanian's approach to introducing his daughter to the internet was incredibly insightful.
Oh, yeah.
He uses Roblox as like a controlled environment, delays her social media exposure, and really emphasizes using the internet as a tool.
It's a smart approach, It's not about sheltering her from technology completely, but about, like, empowering her to use it intentionally and responsibly. He even talked about using ChatGPT to answer her curious questions.
I know.
Which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's teaching her from a young age that AI can be this valuable resource for learning and problem solving, not just like a source of entertainment or distraction.
Absolutely.
Which actually kind of ties nicely into his views on AI and the future of work.
Right.
He had some pretty thought-provoking stuff to say about the whole learn to code movement.
Yeah, he's definitely challenging the conventional wisdom there.
Yeah, he's basically saying that while coding was once seen as like the golden ticket to a secure future, AI is changing the game. He even said, sorry, everyone, it turns out that's not as important anymore.
Wow.
I mean, coming from the co-founder of Reddit, that's a bold statement.
It is. But, it makes sense when you think about it. AI is making coding more accessible, so the real value is going to lie in what he called durable skills.
Yeah.
Things like empathy, critical thinking, adaptability, complex problem solving.
Right.
These are skills that are much harder to automate.
Right.
And they're going to become increasingly valuable as AI takes over more of those, routine tasks.
So you don't think he's saying AI is going to replace all human jobs?
Well, not necessarily. He thinks AI will definitely enhance certain professions, make us more efficient and productive. But he also predicted this resurgence of what he called artisanal work.
Okay.
Like Think handcrafted goods, live performances, anything where the human element becomes even more valuable in contrast to all that AI-driven automation.
Okay, I see.
You know, imagine a world where you can get a perfectly made AI-produced croissant delivered to your door for like $1.
Right.
Suddenly, the work of a skilled artisan baker
Yeah.
who's dedicated their life to their craft,
Right.
that becomes even more desirable.
It's like AI could actually help us rediscover the
Yeah.
value of the human touch and that uniqueness of human creativity.
Absolutely. It's not about AI versus humans. It's about how we can leverage AI to augment our own capabilities
Right.
and unlock these new possibilities.
Totally. And speaking of possibilities, do you know, Ohanian's investment strategy really reflects this kind of forward-thinking mindset.
Yeah.
He basically seeks out companies that are aligned with his values and focuses on those that he would feel comfortable with his own children using.
You know, it's a pretty powerful filter when you think about it for making investment decisions. It shows he's not just chasing profits, but he's actually trying to shape a future that he believes in. You know, a future that's both technologically advanced and ethically sound.
It really does speak to a deeper sense of purpose, I think.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to something pretty profound that he shared. He talked about this powerful childhood memory.
Oh, wow.
Where his great Aunt Vera was explaining the Armenian genocide and his family's survival.
Oh, wow.
And it clearly instilled in him like a deep sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
And a drive to like make a difference in the world.
It's incredible how, you know, our personal histories, even those that happened generations ago, can have such a profound impact on who we become and what we're passionate about. You know, it seems like that awareness of his family's past is really woven into like his drive and his ambition, even his work ethic. He talked about this feeling of like never having done enough.
Oh, wow.
Constantly pushing himself to do more.
It's almost like that historical awareness fuels his entrepreneurial spirit. And it makes his journey even more remarkable when you think about what he was going through personally while he was starting Reddit.
Oh, yeah.
He briefly touched on how he was dealing with his then-girlfriend's accident and his mother's terminal cancer diagnosis all at the same time.
Wow.
I mean, those are incredibly challenging circumstances to navigate.
Yeah.
Especially at such a young age.
Especially at that age.
And yet, he managed to launch a company that would eventually become this global phenomenon.
I know. It makes you wonder how he coped with all that pressure and emotional turmoil.
Well, he admitted that he probably dealt with it very poorly at the time.
Yeah.
Like, he basically used work as therapy.
Yeah.
Pouring all of his energy into building Reddit as a way to avoid confronting the emotional weight of everything that was going on.
Yeah.
He even shared this story about agonizing over a $200 plane ticket to see his sick mom.
Wow.
Because Reddit only had $72,000 in the bank at the time.
Wow, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But it also reveals this level of dedication and resilience.
Yes. That's truly remarkable.
Yeah, he was so committed to building his company that he was willing to make these personal sacrifices, even in the face of like unimaginable hardship.
It's incredible.
And you can really see how that experience shaped his approach to supporting other founders.
Right.
Especially through his venture firm, 776. He's very intentional about building this supportive environment where founders are encouraged to prioritize their well-being, knowing that they have access to resources and support to help them navigate the challenges of building a company.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to create this different kind of startup culture.
Yeah.
You know, one that values personal growth and mental health as much as financial success.
Totally. And this actually leads nicely into another important aspect of his life.
Yeah.
His emphasis on male friendships.
Right.
And work-life balance. He's very vocal about how important those close male friendships are.
Yeah.
Especially for men, who are often taught to suppress their emotions and avoid vulnerability. Oh yeah, for sure. He shared a pretty poignant story about a wake-up call he experienced after a friend's sudden death.
Yeah.
And, you know, it really made him realize the importance of prioritizing his own health and having deeper conversations with his friends.
It's a good reminder that we often take those relationships for granted.
We do.
Especially when we're caught up in the hustle and bustle of life.
Yeah.
And, you know, he has this really interesting perspective on work-life balance. He actually rejects the idea of balance altogether.
Oh, interesting.
Instead, he focuses on being fully present in both work and family life.
Okay.
Dedicating his full attention to which is on the clock at any given moment.
I see.
So it's not about finding that perfect 50-50 split. It's about giving your all to both.
Yeah.
Without trying to like juggle them simultaneously.
It's a mindset shift that I think a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs and high achievers, could really benefit from.
Right.
It's about quality over quantity. Being fully engaged in whatever you're doing, whether it's closing a deal or playing with your kids.
Yeah, and this commitment to presence extends to how he manages his time and energy.
Right.
He made a promise to both his kids and his team. When he's on the clock for work, he's all in. And when he's on the clock for family, he's fully present and engaged with his loved ones.
It's a really practical approach that acknowledges the realities of modern life, where the lines between work and personal time are so often blurred.
Yeah.
He's not trying to achieve some unattainable ideal of perfect balance.
Right.
He's focused on making the most of the time he has, whether he's building a company or making pancakes with his kids.
I like that. And speaking of kids, he shared some really thoughtful insights into how he and Serena are approaching parenting.
Oh, yeah.
They're both incredibly driven and successful.
Yeah.
But they're determined to raise their daughters with this strong work ethic.
Yeah.
And a healthy perspective on, like, success and failure.
Yeah. It's a tough balance, right? Especially when you're raising kids in such a privileged environment.
It is. He even said he doesn't allow his daughter to say the word can't.
Oh, wow.
Like, he wants to instill in her this belief that she can achieve anything she sets her mind to, but also that achieving those things takes hard work and dedication.
It's about fostering that growth mindset.
Yeah.
Where challenges are seen as opportunities for learning and development rather than obstacles to be avoided.
Right.
He's teaching her that success isn't about innate talent or overnight achievements.
Right.
It's about persistence, hard work, and the willingness to embrace the process of learning and growing.
And it's fascinating how their contrasting upbringings inform their parenting choices.
Oh, yeah. You've got Ohanian, who had this relatively normal childhood.
Right.
And then Serena, whose life was dominated by tennis from such a young age.
Right.
And now she's relishing the opportunity to give her daughters this more traditional family experience, something she didn't have growing up.
Yeah. It's a beautiful example of how our own pasts can shape our vision for our children's futures.
Absolutely.
And they're both very aware of the challenges that come with raising children in a privileged environment.
Yeah.
They're determined to ensure their daughters develop a strong work ethic, a sense of humility, and an appreciation for the value of hard work.
He even mentioned wanting his daughter to have a service job in high school.
I know.
Whether it's retail or food service.
I know. I love that.
He wants her to experience the real world and develop that sense of empathy for those who work hard to make ends meet.
It's a really grounding perspective.
It is.
They're not trying to shield their daughters from the realities of life.
Right.
They're preparing them to be compassionate, resilient, and capable of navigating all the complexities of the world.
It all comes back to their shared definition of success, right?
Yeah.
They want their daughters to be happy, productive members of society who are kind, compassionate, and make a positive contribution to the world.
That's a beautiful and inspiring vision.
It is.
For their family's future, and it really does reflect their values.
For sure. Ready for more. We've only just scratched the surface with Ohanian.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because as much as he's known for his success, he's also really open about his struggles,
Oh, yeah.
and the mistakes he's made along the way.
Totally. And I think that's what makes him so relatable.
It does.
He's not afraid to admit that he's still learning and growing.
Yeah, he even talked about how he wrestled with that watch people die subreddit in the early days of Reddit.
Oh, yeah, that was a tough one.
It was a controversial community, and he initially resisted allowing it on the platform.
Right.
Because he argued that it was harmful and didn't align with his values.
It really highlights the ethical dilemmas that these social media platforms have to grapple with.
It does. And Ohanian even went so far as to resign from Reddit back in 2020.
Oh, wow.
Because of disagreements over their content moderation policies. He felt that the platform wasn't doing enough to address, the harmful and hateful content.
That's a big statement.
It is. It shows how seriously he takes the responsibility that comes with building a platform like that.
Right.
That reaches millions, even billions of people.
It's a huge responsibility, and he contrasted this with the early days of Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
Back then, no one really grasped the level of influence these platforms would eventually wield.
It's true. They were focused on building cool products and connecting people,
Right.
not necessarily predicting the potential for like spreading misinformation or even, interfering in elections.
And it's interesting how much things have changed, right?
They have.
Ohanian believes that today's founders are much more aware of these issues from the get-go.
Yeah, it's a different era. There's a much greater awareness now of the potential downsides of technology.
For sure. He even went so far as to say that he wouldn't invest in a company that he wouldn't feel comfortable with his own children using.
I love that.
Talk about putting your money where your mouth is.
It really shows that he's not just concerned about the ethical implications,
Right.
but also the financial risks of backing companies that aren't operating responsibly.
Totally. He believes that businesses that prioritize integrity and social impact
Yeah.
are the ones that are more likely to succeed in the long run.
It's a long-term perspective that really aligns with his values, I think,
Oh, yeah.
and his vision for a better future.
Absolutely. And it ties back to his personal philosophy,
Yeah.
and the lessons that he's learned along the way. He talked about this really profound moment he experienced after a close friend suddenly died of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And it was a wake-up call for him,
Yeah.
He realized how precious life is and how important it is to prioritize his own well-being.
He even admitted that he hadn't gotten regular medical checkups in years.
Wow.
And this event really spurred him to change that.
It's a good reminder that we often take our health for granted
Yeah.
until something happens that forces us to confront our own mortality. It's true. And it made him appreciate his male friendships even more.
Oh, yeah.
He talked about the importance of those deep, meaningful connections with guys who can support you and challenge you to grow.
Right. And he even admitted that this was an area where he knew he could do better, especially given the demands of his career and family life.
It's a reminder that even these incredibly successful people
Yeah.
still have areas that they want to work on.
We all do. And, it circles back to his philosophy on work-life balance.
Right?
Remember how he made that promise to both his kids and his team?
Yeah, when he's on the clock for work, he's fully present and dedicated.
Right.
When he's on the clock for family, he's all in with his loved ones.
It's not about finding that perfect balance.
Right.
It's about being intentional and present in each area of your life.
Totally. It's such a practical approach that acknowledges the realities of modern life, where work and personal time often blend together.
They do. And, it brings us back to his approach to parenting with Serena.
Right. They both want to raise their daughters with a strong work ethic
Yeah.
and a healthy perspective on success and failure,
Mm-hmm.
which can be challenging,
It is.
when you're raising kids in such a privileged environment.
It is. He even said he wants his daughter to have a service job in high school,
I know. I love that.
like whether it's retail or food service, so she can experience the real world
Yeah.
and develop empathy for people from all walks of life.
It's a really grounding perspective.
It is. They're not trying to shield their daughters from reality.
Right.
They're preparing them to be compassionate, resilient, and capable
Yeah.
of navigating all of the complexities of the world.
And I think that's really inspiring.
It is. And speaking of inspiring, let's talk about the dynamic between Ohanian, the successful entrepreneur,
Right.
and Serena Williams, the global sports icon.
Their relationship is fascinating, right?
It is. It's captured the world's attention. And it's really interesting how Ohanian navigates his role within it.
Oh, yeah.
He jokes that no matter what he achieves, he'll always be Serena Williams' husband.
And he seems totally comfortable with that.
He does. It speaks volumes about their mutual respect,
Yeah.
the strong partnership they've built.
And he clearly admires her drive and ambition.
Oh, absolutely. He talked about how inspiring it was to watch her win Grand Slam after Grand Slam,
Yeah.
even while pregnant.
It's incredible.
It is. But he also finds immense joy in seeing her embrace motherhood and those simpler pleasures of family life.
It's beautiful to see someone you love find happiness and fulfillment in different areas of their lives.
Absolutely. And he talked about how their contrasting personalities and upbringings actually contribute to their dynamic.
Right. You've got Ohanian, who's immersed in the digital world,
Mm-hmm.
and Serena, who he described as low-tech.
I know, it's funny.
They've definitely had to learn to communicate and navigate those differences.
They have, especially when it comes to things like scheduling and organization.
Yeah. Remember that anecdote about him convincing her to use a shared calendar?
Oh, yeah.
Which turned out to be a dry erase board on the dining room table.
Right, because she prefers a more analog approach.
I love that.
It's those little glimpses into their everyday life that make them so relatable,
They do.
despite their extraordinary accomplishments.
And, he was incredibly open about the complexities of being in an interracial relationship.
Oh, yeah.
He acknowledged that societal gulf that exists
Right.
between their lived experiences as a white man and a black woman in America.
He sees their relationship as like an ongoing journey of understanding, empathy, and mutual respect.
Right, constantly learning and growing together.
He even mentioned how Serena will gently call him out on his blind spots, helping him to see his own biases and privileges.
It shows a real willingness to be vulnerable and challenge each other, which is so crucial for any relationship.
It is, especially when it's navigating the complexities of race and social dynamics.
Absolutely. But in the end, their relationship is built on those core values.
Yeah.
Love, respect, commitment to their family, and a deep understanding of each other's ambitions and dreams.
It's a powerful reminder that even the most high-profile relationships are grounded in those basic elements of trust, communication, and shared values.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up, I have to bring up something lighthearted that really caught my attention.
Okay.
Ohanian shared some hilarious anecdotes from his early days at Reddit.
Oh, yeah.
Even one about his attempt to become a professional waiter.
Oh, that's right.
Remember that story about Paul Graham suggesting he rename Reddit to Octopoop?
I know, it's priceless. Can you imagine Reddit being called Octopoop?
I can't. It just wouldn't have the same ring to it.
Not at all. And his tale of wanting to skip college to become a professional waiter?
Yeah.
Because he was so good at serving pizza at Pizza Hut.
It's so relatable, right?
It is. We all have those moments of, like, youthful ambition.
Yeah.
Even if they don't always work out as planned.
Exactly. But it makes him seem so much more human,
It does.
More down to earth, despite all of his success.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, he's this tech mogul.
Right.
But he also had those quirky, relatable moments.
We all do.
Like the rest of us.
Exactly. And I think it's those moments that make him even more likable and inspiring.
Totally. So as we head into the final part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What are some key takeaways you're gathering from all of this?
Well, for me, it's Ohanian's ability to hold both the immense power of technology and the importance of human connection in his mind at the same time.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to embrace technology's potential,
Right.
but he's also acutely aware of its potential pitfalls.
It's a tough balance.
It is. He's definitely a complex and fascinating figure.
He is a tech titan, a family man, an advocate,
Right.
a constant learner.
And I think his story offers us all a lot to think about
He does.
as we navigate our own lives in this increasingly digital world.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll wrap up our exploration of Ohanian's insights and leave you with some thought-provoking questions to ponder.
Can't wait.
All right. So we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Alexis Ohanian.
It's been a really thought-provoking conversation so far, hasn't it?
It really has. We've covered so much ground, like from those early days building Reddit to his ideas about AI, his parenting style, and that unique relationship he has with Serena Williams. It's kind of amazing how much one person can accomplish and the impact they can have on the world.
I know, it's inspiring, right? And I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is just how Ohanian's constantly challenging himself. He's not content with just building these successful companies. He wants to actually create a better future, both for his own family and for society as a whole.
He's definitely not afraid to speak his mind and advocate for what he believes in.
Not at all. Whether it's about being ethical with technology, supporting mental health for founders, or just, promoting more diversity and inclusion in the tech world.
And he walks the walk, too. It's not just talk. He's taking action through his investments, his company culture, and even his own personal choices.
Yeah, exactly. He's a great example of how we can all use our own talents and resources to make a positive impact, even in small ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not always about those grand gestures. It's about those everyday actions that collectively can make a real difference, like being intentional with our time, our energy, and how we use our influence, right?
For sure. And having a growth mindset. Being open to learning from our mistakes and always striving to be better.
It's funny, for someone who's achieved so much, he seems so grounded and self-aware. He's not afraid to laugh at himself, share his struggles, and admit that he's still learning.
Right. It just makes him so relatable. He's not this, untouchable tech genius. He's a real person with flaws and quirks and, just a genuine desire to make a positive impact.
Totally. Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive on Alexis Ohanian, what's resonating with you the most? What are you taking away from all this?
Honestly, I think it's the reminder that we all have the power to make a difference. No matter our background or, what we've been through. Ohanian's story shows that it's totally possible to be both successful and compassionate, to see the potential of technology while being aware of the risks, and to use our influence to create a more just and equitable world for everyone.
I love that.
Mm.
And for me, it's his focus on the importance of human connection, especially in this increasingly digital world, whether it's through nurturing our close relationships, building strong communities, or even just being present in those everyday interactions. He reminds us that technology should ultimately enhance our humanity, not replace it.
That's a powerful message to leave with our listeners. So as you go about your day, think about how you can use your own platform to make a positive impact, however big or small. Think about those relationships you cherish and the values you want to live by.
And remember, like we've seen with Ohanian, it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, being present, and trying to make a difference, even in small ways, one step at a time.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, we hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
And maybe even a little challenging.
Until next time,
Yeah.
keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.